What's going on, everyone? Hope you guys are having a great day, and welcome to my role guide for Tower Fantasy Global. Since launch, I've been talking to a lot of my crewmates and people in general who are saying that Tower Fantasy is their first exposure to an MMO. And since this is a gacha game as well, a lot of people like to ask the question, what weapon is the best? Is this weapon good? Should I use this over this? What should I be maining? Now, the answer to this will vary, and it will heavily depend on what role you wish to play in the game. In this video, we'll be going over the different roles in Tower Fantasy, their benefits, as well as recommended simulacra for the roles. Without further ado, let's begin. To start off, let's talk about what roles are available in Tower Fantasy. This game follows the typical role trinity that most MMOs have, which are comprised of 3 roles: the tank, the DPS, and the healer. In this game, they're given different names: Fortitude, Attack, and Benediction Resonance. Additionally, Tower Fantasy has a 4th role available called Balance, which is a combination of all 3 roles. To become a specific role, you have to have multiple weapons of that role equipped in order to receive its benefits. These benefits are active in both the open world and have a stronger effect when you're in instances like joint operations or frontier clash. Now, if you're unsure of what weapons belong to a role, you'll want to take a look at this area here, and the symbol will tell you what role it belongs to. The first and most popular role in any MMO is usually the DPS, or in this case, the Attack Resonance. This is the role with the least amount of responsibility with one sole focus. You are there to do as much damage to the enemies as possible and always try your best to find out the optimal way to do so. Ideally, try your best not to die as well because, and say it with me, a dead DPS does no DPS at all. In order to gain the attack role, you must have at least 2 attack weapons equipped. The benefits that this role provides you is that it will increase your final damage by 10% in the open world and further increases it to 40% during instances. Currently, the 2 most popular simulacra for this role are King and Samir, as both of their weapons are able to do exceptional damage in a short amount of time. As for an example set up here, try to have at least King or Samir paired alongside a weapon that's good at charging like Tsubasa's, and a weapon dedicated to shattering shields like Shiori. The next role on the list is the tank role, otherwise known as the Fortitude Resonance. As a tank, it is your responsibility to draw the enemy's attention and protect your teammates. Your role is to keep their attention largely fixated on you, giving the rest of your team the opportunity to DPS and heal in safety. You should be the one that's first to run into the enemies and grab aggro by attacking them. If there are multiple enemies, try to get an attack in on each one before starting to damage them down so that you can group them together for your team and make DPSing them down easier. In order to become the tank role, you will have to equip 2 Fortitude weapons. While you won't be necessarily doing a lot of damage, you more than make up for it with the ability to shatter shields easier and take less damage than the rest of your team. The benefits for the tank include an 800% increase in aggro, which will help you provoke mobs and bosses into attacking you, a 60% increase to your shatter, and a 25% damage reduction in the open world, increasing to 45% in instances. This damage reduction increase is immensely helpful and can even help you survive hits that you normally wouldn't as any other role. The current popular picks for this role are Meryl and Huma, both of which are extremely useful at shield breaking and provide added utility, with Meryl being able to trap mobile bosses in her ice barrier, and Huma having a forced taunt with her discharge skill. For an example weapon setup, having both Meryl and Huma would be ideal, and you have the choice of either filling in the last and 3rd slot with a healing weapon like Coco for more sustain and survivability, or alternatively using a DPS weapon for the final slot to increase damage output on your enemies. The 3rd role of the Trinity is the healer role, which is called the Benediction Resonance. As a healer, your job is to keep your team alive with your weapon's healing abilities and to provide support and buffs to other players. Ideally, you want to try to keep your healing skills on cooldown as much as possible and keep your team alive as best you can. This does not mean, however, that you shouldn't DPS and solely focus on healing. In fact, a good healer is one that can both heal and DPS at the same time. The healer is the role that is most often MVP due to how it factors in healing done alongside damage done during the end result screen. In order to become a healer, you must have 2 support type weapons equipped. As for the benefits, healers gain an increase in healing by 100% in the open world, and during instances, this is increased to 200% healing, which is a substantial gain in healing power. For this role, Coco and Nemesis are 2 powerful simulacra to play as healer. Coco's kit has skills dedicated to healing and removing debuffs from teammates, whereas Nemesis provides both healing and utility with the ability to summon electrodes that do damage and being able to slow and knock down enemies. A setup I recommend for this role would be having any 2 support weapons alongside a shatter weapon, as support weapons are not particularly good at breaking shields. Finally, we come to the balance role, which is basically the combination of all 3 roles and doesn't particularly excel in any one field, making it more of a jack of all trades. Playing the balance role means filling in for the role that your team doesn't have to supplement the party. To become the balance role, you must have an attack, fortitude, and support weapon equipped. For benefits, you are given an additional 20% to healing, as well as an additional 5% to final damage and damage reduction, which becomes 25% final damage and damage reduction in instances. This is the most flexible role, and your weapon setups here can be whatever you want as long as you meet the balance requirements, but as with all roles, I do recommend having at least a weapon dedicated to shattering shields as one of your weapon choices. Now, in terms of party composition, an ideal party composition for instances currently should consist of 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS. However, currently when matching with randoms, this will usually not be enforced by the game's matchmaking and will match you with other players regardless of your role. We should expect, however, that a balance of these roles will become more and more important as we get closer to endgame content and raids, where having each role to supplement one another will make for a more efficient method of clearing content. And that about wraps it up for my role guide for Tower Fantasy Global. I hope it was informative, and if you liked this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to me for more Tower Fantasy and gaming content. If you have any questions for me or feedback about the video, please leave me a comment below so that I can answer your questions and improve my videos to provide you guys with better quality content. In any case, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Rise out!